Hey guys, as I was rewatching and rethinking all of Game of Thrones, I came up with this mind-blowing endgame theory that would also be the last promised shock of Game of Thrones. Bran Stark will kill his father Ned in the past, so Jon could grow as Dayne's bastard and someday inherit the only sword that can kill the Night King Dawn. I know that this might sound ridiculous to most of you, but bear with me. At the end of this video, this mind-blowing theory will make sense, and believe it or not, Jon growing up as Dayne's bastard and becoming the Sword of the Morning, inheriting the only sword that can defeat the Night King Dawn, was Rhaegar's original plan. That's why he left him at the Tower of Joy, and that's why Dayne could not tell Ned the truth, but had to instead fight him in order to kill him and pass Jon as his own, which as we all know he did not succeed. Ned Stark with the help of Howland Reed defeated him, and therefore Rhaegar's and Dayne's plan failed, and that's why we have Bran Stark who will rewrite the history, and make sure Jon gets the only weapon that's capable of destroying the Night King. Okay, so somewhere near the end of Season 8, Jon Snow and the most of the living side will be defeated, and killed against the Night King, but Jon did get an opportunity to kill the leader of the White Walkers. He stabbed the Night King with his Valyrian steel sword Longclaw, but nothing happened. The Night King killed him a few months later. At the end of all of this, Bran Stark realizes with the help of his visions that the only thing capable of destroying this Night King is the oldest, most magical and most popular sword in all of Westeros, Dawn, the ancestral sword of House Dayne. Only Dawn can bring the dawn, but it's too late. Jon had to have Dawn during his one-on-one fight against the Night King. Jon had his chance but wasted it with the wrong weapon, and all of skilled fighters are dead at this point, and Bran's got no idea where the sword even is. Bran then remembers the last time he saw Dayne, Dawn and Jon all together, which was at the Tower of Joy. Bran then has a vision and we find out Rhaegar's plan was for Dayne to pass Jon as his own, making sure Jon will not get killed and making sure Jon gets Dawn someday, and uses it in a fight against the Night King. But Ned Stark basically messed up all the plans, and all the chances of Westeros surviving the long night. The Dawn is not the only reason Rhaegar chose Dayne to act as Jon's father. Yes, it will be the weapon that will save all of Westeros at the end, but for Jon to grow up and eventually use Dawn against the Night King, Rhaegar made sure that he would not be killed by Robert after his birth. Targaryens have their unique traits, with silver hair being the most prominent one, and even though Targaryen genes are recessive to Stark genes, Rhaegar could not risk it, and that's why it had to be Dayne who would not only give Jon Dawn, but also pass Jon as his own and not someone else, for example Ned. It's common for Danes to look like Targaryens, with their hair usually being silver and eyes violet. Had Jon inherited his father's look and not his mother's, nobody would have ever suspected that Son of Dayne was not actually a Dane, but a Targaryen. So the sword Dawn is not the only reason Rhaegar chose Dayne to be the one to raise Jon, and that's why his king and best friend Rhaegar wanted Dayne there at the Tower of Joy, and that's why Dayne could not let Ned to see his sister Lyanna, and that's why he had to kill him or at least try. Rhaegar always planned for his son to be raised as Dayne's bastard at Starfall, making sure no one would doubt him a Targaryen, even if he would look like one, and making sure he gets Dawn, with which he'll someday kill the Night King and end the Long Night. In other words, Rhaegar knew he was going to die against Robert that day, he knew Lyanna was going to die in a childbirth, and he knew his son would be killed if Robert or anyone else ever finds out he's his son, which would also leave Westeros doomed. And everything I talked about for the last minute is exactly why Rhaegar left Dayne with Lyanna in the Tower of Joy. Prince Rhaegar commanded his guard, his best friend, to take care of his son, and to make sure he'd live, because he's the person that is destined to kill the Night King. After this vision, Bran will realize that it was always meant for his father Ned to die that day, and for Jon to grow up as Dayne's bastard, inherit Dawn and use it in his only chance against the Night King, that he wasted using Longclaw and doomed all of Westeros. Bran realizes he's got to change the past and kill his own father, for any of this to be possible. Before we continue with the theory, let me just highlight that this will not be the first time Bran changes the past. He already rewrote it in Season 6, and in the very same time period. Let's take a look on a scene from Season 6, Episode 3. As Ned runs into the tower to find Lyanna, Bran calls out to him. Ned stops to look around but is confused because he cannot find the source of the voice. Before Bran can discover what's in the tower for himself, the three-eyed raven brings both of them out of the past. It's very important to highlight when Bran questioned whether or not his father heard him, the three-eyed raven did not deny the possibility of that being true. In fact, he seemed to think that it could be the case. But nevertheless, he wanted Bran to leave the vision as soon as possible, whereupon he warned Bran not to interfere with the past. Maybe he knew Bran had the power to make contact with other people in this vision, and didn't want Bran to accidentally change the course of history. Just like on the show, Eddard Stark also seemingly heard his future son's voice in the books as well. Let's take a look on Bran's last chapter in A Dance with Dragons. Lord Eddard Stark sat upon a rock beside a deep black pool in the Godswood, the pale roots of the hard tree twisting around him like an old man's gnarled arms. The great sword ice lay across Lord Eddard's lap, and he was cleaning the blade with an oilcloth. Winterfell Bran whispered. His father looked up. "Who's there?" he asked. If Ned truly did hear his future son's voice, then Bran could in fact be able to change the past, which would automatically change the present as well. In my opinion, Bran has already changed the past by calling out to his father. It may have not been a significant change, but it could still prove that he is able to do so. Let me remind you that Bran called out to his father in episode 3 of season 6. However, season 6 finale proved that Bran has actually rewritten the past, as you can see that Ned now always hears Bran and turns around. So there certainly is a chance that Bran can actually change the past, and in some way communicate with people from different time periods, and if true, this would be a major game change regarding the outcome of the Great War. Perhaps the Three-Eyed Raven was wrong when he said that the past is already written. Additionally, in this scene, he seems to know that Bran wields huge power, and is in fact able to rewrite the history, because if Bran could not do it, then what would be the point of him warning Bran not to interfere with the past? Anyways, back to the theory. So Bran goes back in time and works into Dayne and kills Howland and then his father Ned as well. The only survivor of the battle at the Tower of Joy, Dayne passes Jon as his own. Bran Stark rewrote history. How could Bran defeat Ned when Dayne couldn't? Well, first off, Dayne was far better than Ned, and he would have killed him if not for Howland who stabbed him from the back. Dayne did not see this coming, but Bran will, as he already watched the entire fight. And no, Bran is not skilled enough to kill his father Ned, but Dayne is, and by warging into Dayne, Bran gains all the skills Dayne has and therefore easily defeats and kills Ned, as well as Howland, who Bran knows is going to try to stab him from the back. Just as Bran worked into Hodor, Ravens and direwolves throughout the previous seasons and gained all their strength and speed among all other skills while being in their skin, Bran will now work into Dayne in the past, gain all his skills while being in his skin, and kill his own father, for Jon to be raised as a Dayne at Starfall, so he could become the next Sword of the Morning and get the Dawn, the only weapon capable of killing the Night King, and be able to use it at the right time. Then we are back at the present time with the Night King defeated, as Jon now used Dawn in his recent fight against the Night King and ended the Long Night. By doing this, Bran saves Westeros and Jon brings Dawn, but it's not only Ned of House Stark who disappears from big part of the history. Bran wipes out most of his family, himself, his sister Sansa and Arya, and his brother Rickon, all disappear from the history and from the current timeline, as all of them were not born by the time fight at the Tower of Joy takes place. Robb Stark is the only one that's not wiped from the history, and the only one of the Starks that will be alive in the current timeline as well, since if this theory is to come true, Ned is long gone, and he is not killed by the Lannisters. Bittersweet ending is that at the end Jon kills the Night King with Dawn and brings the Dawn. Bran saves Westeros, but the only Stark alive is Robb, the only child Ned and Catelyn got pregnant with before Ned went into Robert's rebellion. All other Starks are gone. This would also be the last shock of Game of Thrones, the promise the third one. The first 5 seasons of Game of Thrones were mostly based on published novels. Although the beginning, late in season 5, the series began including plot points from the future novels, told to the executive producers by author George R. R. Martin. Beginning with season 6, the show included a large amount of original content, as well as adapting an outline of future novels provided by Martin. The producer stated there were 3 holy shit moments revealed by Martin: Shireen Baratheon's death, the meaning of Hodor's name and its correlation to his eventual death, and a third to be revealed at the end of the series. In this theory, this third holy shit moment is Bran killing his father Ned for the greater good. Although don't worry, Martin responded yes or no to fan inquiries about whether the show would spoil the final 2 novels, and the producer stated so much of what we are doing diverges from the books at this point. There are certain key elements that will be the same. Only a few plot points from the series have been confirmed to be intended for future novels. Martin stated that Tyrion and Dany will intersect, and Alan Taylor stated that Martin told him Jon and Dany would meet and ally against the others White Walkers. So even if this does happen on the show, it doesn't mean it will happen exactly the same as in the books, just as Shireen's death will not happen in the books exactly the same as it happened on the show. Anyways, I know you must have been confused at the beginning of this video, when I stated that Bran will kill his father Ned in the past, so Jon could grow as Dayne's son and someday inherit the only sword that can kill the Night King, Dawn, and be able to use it at the right time during his only chance. But now at the end, hopefully it all makes sense, and hopefully you like this brand new mind-blowing endgame theory of mine. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to our channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.